What's up, everyone? It has been quite a bit of time since we've covered the Sturniolo triplets here on this channel. Some of you may have graduated from college at this point already. Some of you may have become parents. I've gotten many messages asking if I can take a look at one of their most recent podcasts and let you know my thoughts on if Nick and Chris were too harsh and mean toward Matt. From everything that I've seen with the Sturniolo triplets, part of their love language is being harsh and direct. I mean, I've never felt like it's gone too far. Now, people are saying it's a little different in this podcast. You got to check it out. They're really picking on Matt over here. So let's watch this. My editor, shout out my editor, Amalie, she told me that everything I need to know essentially is within the first 14 minutes of this podcast. All right.
I cannot believe we're on episode 35, Matt. How does that make you feel?
Also, I've seen clips of people like stitch together like all of my intros. When I say Nick Sturniolo, Nick Sturniolo, Nick Sturniolo, it sounds like I'm saying Nick's turning yellow.
People take the OLO and just like really run with it, and they're like
just Sturnioli.
Sturniolio is the Sturniolio is a big one.
Like a bunch of oleos at the end.
Yeah, way too many oleos.
It sounds like a cereal at that point.
That's why I just love Stromboli too, because it's like no one ever messed up with that.
Okay, so 2 minutes and 20 seconds in, no sign of them being rude to Matt. I mean, Matt seems pretty chill. He seems pretty happy. He seems to be kind of like crushing on Chris a little bit here. Maybe the wrong choice of words, but I notice his attention seems to be focused on him more than Nick. Like he's kind of in I love Chris mode. I don't know. That's the vibe I get.
Even Matt couldn't spell my name until like third grade.
Okay, well, your name's spelled weird. I also couldn't spell anything until third grade.
No, like there was like if you asked Matt in like third grade to like write my name on paper, he like couldn't
Nick, I could
spell
barely write my own in third grade.
No, like it was prolonged like a lot. Like someone could have asked you like way.
So it actually kind of felt like Matt was being a little overly defensive there.
Nick, I could barely write my own in third grade.
Nick's kind of saying it in good humor, at least from my perspective. And Matt's being a little, defensive. He's a sensitive person. I think it seemed like that kind of triggered something, not to get too overly analytical here, but it seemed like that kind of triggered something in him and he got maybe a little bit more defensive than necessary. So, maybe he's feeling a little sensitive in this podcast. And when people get defensive, sometimes that can put people on the offense and create a little bit of friction. So we'll see how this plays out.
Like not that long ago, and you would have spelled my name right.
I used to think it was
like, how do you spell my name? I remember asking you this like a year ago, and you couldn't do it.
Right now, I'm not about to do this. It's not like a little puppy that like you can tell to say. We'll sit down in front of you.
No, because I remember asking Matt like a year ago how to spell my name, and he like couldn't.
That's
spell
not
it.
true.
He didn't spell
I know how to spell it.
Right. So yeah, he seems a little thrown off by that comment and that banter. I don't think Nick was being mean there. I think he was just trying to joke around with his brother, but it seemed like Matt was a little put off by that, and but like maybe that kind of triggered an insecurity about him not being able to spell his name and having trouble spelling, right? So yeah, maybe it hit something in him that he's sensitive about.
Isn't it crazy that the PH makes an F sound?
Yeah.
It is pretty nuts.
Like that's what it is. That's what it does. All right, well, let's get.
Yeah, dude, Chris, let's talk about that. It is nuts. I'm here to validate that. My middle name is Philip, PH, so I get it. It is kind of weird. Why does it make that sound? I'm with you.
Today we're going to be talking about the science of happiness.
Oh.
Which is, I'm so eager to hear what Matt has to say about everything that we talk about today.
Me too. Negative Matt.
Negative Matt.
Yeah.
It's like, what did me and Chris do today, though, to make you annoyed before we started filming
Chris
today?
has already burped and played music.
Shit went down before the podcast started, so they came into this podcast a little like emotionally dysregulated, or Matt did at least. So, perhaps he was a little bit on edge and annoyed going into this podcast. So, okay, that's starting to make a little bit more sense. What do they call him? Negative Matt?
Negative Matt.
Negative Matt.
When someone's upset and you kind of just like poke at them for being upset or being negative, obviously that's going to make things worse. And Matt, from everything that I've seen, he's like the least aggressive out of Nick and Chris. Like Nick and Chris almost thrive in the chaos and they can get really sort of combative and they almost enjoy it, it feels like. Matt, I don't think he thrives in that kind of environment, right? So it's not as easy for him to kind of defend himself. I just think by nature.
Yeah, I didn't something that has to do with audio.
Oh my god,
you know,
talking.
Matt just gets like literally.
It's crazy how hypocritical you guys are too. Let me just say that you're the first to be like, oh Matt, you don't talk during this podcast. I didn't once have a break in what I was just saying, and then you literally went, oh my god, you're still talking.
You don't talk, but when you do, it's like elongated versions of complaints and annoyingness that we've heard before. So it's
Incorrect.
like
I can relate to Matt, being a sensitive person myself. That would probably bother me, especially if I'm in a bad mood or I'm feeling shitty about myself. Like, I would probably take that more personally. Whereas if Matt said that comment to Nick or Chris, like, you take such a long time saying things, I feel like they'd be able to shake it off really quickly or just fire back at the other person. Whereas Matt, I think, just takes things to heart a little bit more. Like, I don't think he's the type of guy that responds well to this type of feedback. It depends on who that message is directed toward. Like, if it's directed toward Chris, I don't feel like it's mean because I feel like Chris can kind of take it. And although, you know, this is part of their brotherly love language, again, I don't know if Matt responds to it as well as Nick and Chris do. So I'm not going to tell them how to act toward each other. How about that? Not even going to go there. I don't think it's unnecessarily harsh, but I understand how Matt would take it a little bit more personally. That's all.
Bare minimum. And then he does shit like this.
Yeah,
like,
super exciting to talk about happiness today, though, right, Matt?
Well,
Yeah,
me and Nick can turn it around. You can't turn it around. That's your problem.
Can't come close to turning it.
Yeah, you're just like, once you're in the miserable mode.
Yeah, Chris is bang on. You know, it's hard for Matt to get out of that hole. Like, he kind of like rests in his feelings a little bit more. He kind of dwells on things a little bit more. And, you know, that's part of also what makes Matt so relatable. A lot of us can relate to Matt and kind of feel the sensitivity and his sweetness. You know what I mean? So they know each other well, and Chris gets it.
But he is miserable, Matt. What? What are you looking at me for, idiot? Turn around. Ugh.
You wish I acted.
You wish.
In these videos.
Good.
I really can't stand. I'm not gonna sit here for like another 55 minutes.
Oh, you can't stand.
What was that? That mumble? I can't understand it.
Yeah, they're picking on him here a little, for sure. They're definitely picking on him here. Was it horrible? No. I think almost any sibling relationship can kind of relate to this type of banter. And just playing devil's advocate here, you got to kind of give the Sturniolo triplets some credit for airing everything, or what it seems like everything, right? They're not hiding from the fact that they may be accused of being bullying toward their brother Matt. Like, they're just putting it all out there for the better or the worse. So I appreciate that. You know, I certainly appreciate this is real. You know, some of you are going to like it, some of you aren't going to like it, but this is real. This is part of the brotherly banter. Yeah, they're picking on him. Yeah, they are.
Rolling down a hill, your voice like, it just literally sounds like an avalanche coming out of your mouth.
You guys like get me to this point. It's
Today we're
crazy
learning
how
about the
upset you
science
guys
behind
get
feeling
when-
your best and how
Dude, I think I need hearing aids, or he's just whispering. One of the two.
I can't even
What,
understand.
like, haven't heard a word you've said.
They got
You have
it.
to realize how far away you are.
They got it.
Can't hear you.
They got it. It's all right.
Cool.
You know, and this also kind of, in a weird way, might be them trying to, like, encourage Matt. Like, come on, man. Like, step up. Like, you got this. Like, you know, they're kind of trying to push him to be more outspoken and kind of push him to be a little bit more confident. And listen, at the end of the day, like, Matt's going to learn from all this, right? He's going to go back and learn from all this, and he's going to be able to become a stronger person through it all, because it's not like he's going to abandon hanging out with Chris and Matt. So he's going to figure out a way to adapt and figure out a way to kind of set his boundaries or be more resilient, and he'll figure it out. You know what I mean? He'll figure it out. You know, he's a smart guy with a lot of emotional intelligence. He'll be okay. He'll figure it out.
By the time this podcast comes out, it's very late February.
I know, but
so.
filming this on February 1st, it's just like...
Don't even say that.
Why?
Because
Yeah.
it's inaccurate to the timeline in which they're
I'm saying
watching.
that's part of my happiness
Yeah, but
today.
it's taking the viewer out of that mode.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm sorry
shut
to
up.
take you guys out of the mode.
Yeah, Nick's in, like, combative mode right now. You know what I mean? But again, look how Chris responds to the combativeness versus how Matt responds to the combativeness, right? Like, Nick doesn't mind being a little confrontational, and he's being confrontational here. And Chris is like, all right, fair enough. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm sorry
shut
to take you guys out of the mode.
Right? He's not, like, kind of retreating. He's just, like, kind of owning it. Okay. It's interesting to see the different personality types at play here.
What does happiness mean to you?
This is so good.
I don't know. That's a really like on the spot loaded question.
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
A stranger could have come up to me put me in a headlock and said, "What makes you happy?" and I'll let you go, and I can answer.
Okay,
it
the
so
floor is
fast.
yours. Answer it.
Well, it's just crazy to me. You can't answer.
Oh my fucking God, Chris.
He's picking on Matt. I think he's annoyed by Matt kind of retreating and not standing up for himself, maybe. I think that could be part of it. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. But that's definitely what I see is happening right now. And perhaps it's because Chris is just kind of annoyed that Matt's not standing up for himself. Or, he just likes picking on his brother. It's a part of their dynamic. Chris is kind of like getting off on making fun of Matt. And Chris is like, fuck it, I can do what I want. I'm going to make fun of Matt. I'm going to make fun of my brother. It's funny. Some will say that's not very nice, that's not very kind, that's not very empathetic, and I definitely hear that side of the story, but again, they're brothers, they love each other, and Chris is just being himself.
I'm not going to repeat
The flamingo
myself.
on the desk.
I'm
Can
really
answer the
not going to
question.
repeat myself. Like, I can't.
Happiness means to me, doing what you love,
Okay.
being with people you love.
Okay.
Chris is extending a hand. He's extending a line of peace to Matt right there. Being with people you love.
Being with people you love.
Okay.
Right? So he's giving them something. And he's essentially saying with that gesture, like, I love you, I'm here with you. Because sometimes that's all you need. Even from people who deep down love you, sometimes you just need that sort of assurance from them, that validation from them, like, I love you. And that kind of turns things around.
Nothing's going on right now.
Okay.
I'm happy. You're making it seem like we have like beef right
No,
now.
I just think it's funny that we're just like
I just think
jokingly
it's-
fighting, and like someone's gonna be mad at me on the internet for like yelling at Matt.
You're
Can you
just
just
annoying.
say that I'm not like you're not like super
You're
mad at
pissing me off.
Oh
like
my
what do you want me to like
I just
say
can't do
this
it.
whole
I
thing?
can't
You
do
guys
it.
are
I can't.
pushing my fucking buttons. What do you want?
Yeah, good for Matt for standing up for himself, right? As he should. If they're pushing his buttons, say it. Nick's a little concerned about what the audience is going to think.
Can you just say that I'm not like you're not like super
You're
mad at
pissing me off.
Right? He's trying to get safety through Matt so he doesn't get backlash from the Sturniolo fan base, which I'd imagine he kind of did. So it's like, you can't be coming to Matt who you're making feel like crap to defend you against the fan base. Like, if the fan base is going to be upset, they're going to be upset. I personally don't think it's that big of a deal, but yeah, sure, I can understand why people would empathize with Matt. If he's already feeling sensitive and you're going in at him, that's only going to make him retreat more. It's not going to make him open up and be more confident and express himself. So again, I don't want to be giving these guys advice, but if they ask me, I'd say, if your goal is to get Matt to speak more, you're going to have to meet him with some more compliments and not as much sort of criticism, right? He just doesn't respond well to that. So
Happiness means when all of your conscious thought is just in what you're doing in that moment.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
I like that.
Not overthinking
Yeah,
and
when
like
you're just
bring me
present.
somewhere else
It's
negative.
annoying, right?
Yeah, I agree, Chris. Creating an actual active happy memory is like all of your conscious thought is in that moment.
I agree.
Some wise words from Nikki. Nikki, I called him Nikki. So I feel like I'm soaking through my shirt. I'm so hot in this room right now. Woo!
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think to alley-oop what you're saying is
The sports.
What are you
reference-
talking
The
about?
sports
Don't
references
do
just
some
never
shit,
really
Chris.
work on me. But
what?
Go. Like, I can't. This isn't fucking real life right now.
I kind of understand. It's like, all right, maybe I missed something, but it's like, all right, man. It's time to try to snap out of it. Don't call me an ass, but now they're having a nice conversation and they want you to contribute here, right? I don't think they're at this point being nasty, but maybe he's kind of waiting for a little bit of an apology or for them to kind of change their tone with him. I'm not sure. There's times where I kind of understand where Chris and Nick come from when it's like, all right, man, get over it type deal. But he is who he is.
You can't like go into something and be like, this is going to be a happy.
Yeah, you can't
memory.
choke the memory out of it and be like, this is my happiest memory. You just have to let it happen, and then just
Yeah.
afterward, you're like,
Sure.
what an amazing time.
I understand that.
No, I get it.
Yeah, it's like if you tried to like,
I think just like my way of saying it was fine.
yeah, okay, go ahead, Nick.
Oh my god, you guys are.
Matt was turning around here, but Chris just probably put him back in his shell with that kind of like mockery of his tone.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Nick.
When Matt gets sensitive in his feelings, I think Chris kind of smells blood and pounces on him. And yeah, I think he's kind of annoyed and frustrated when Matt retreats. Perhaps he can't fully empathize with him not being able to kind of just get out of his own head because Chris can what seems to be more easily. I don't think this is like unnatural in like a brotherly dynamic at all. But again, like, you know, Chris targeted Matt there, so obviously Matt's going to respond negatively.
Like, not everything needs, like, I understand that I talk quietly sometimes, but not everything needs to be a big
Even just what you're
fiasco.
doing now, I can like understand better than what you were just doing. That wasn't.
I'm
you
doing
weren't
what I was just
loud,
doing.
but you were like actually projecting full words. I loved it.
Yeah, he loved it. He loved it, right? He loves seeing Matt's confidence. I mean, that's sort of like the positive approach to this whole thing. It's like Chris wants Matt to succeed. He wants to hear him project himself. He wants to see him thrive and be confident, right? Like, I think that's sort of like the more positive way of looking at this, which I believe is true. You know, perhaps Chris can be a little bit more patient with Matt, but that's just, you know, that's just part of who they are.
He's not real.
What do you do when you need an immediate happiness boost?
Get Chris away from me. Whatever that.
Oh
whatever
my
that is.
god, what a hurtful answer.
I would have never said that about him. I would never say that. I think personally, sometimes Matt is so negative it drains my mood.
I'm not
but I would
negative.
never.
He's sad, and when you're sad, you're more prone to being negative, right? I know when I'm sad, I'm more negative and judgmental. When I'm feeling shitty about myself, I'm more judgmental and negative about just everything. That's a normal response to being sad. So when they're calling him negative, really what that means is he's sad, and he's manifesting his sadness through negativity, right? That's how it comes out. But really under that negativity is sadness.
So now we're even, I would say, right?
Yeah, sure. Even.
Thank you. Even Steven.
Now I'll give my real answer. Now I'll give my real answer. Moron.
Happiness boost question.
All right, so that was the first 14 minutes or so. I'm getting a sense of what's going on here. I really am. So I can totally empathize with Matt, but I can also see where Chris and Nick are coming from, just out of sort of frustration and just being brothers and having fun. So again, is it that big of a deal? I don't personally think so. Were they picking on Matt a little? Definitely. Is that part of their dynamic? It seems like it. So I don't know if this helped at all. I don't know if this clarified anything for you. Again, I'm not going to tell these guys how to treat each other or how to, you know, respond to each other. This is their thing. I hope you enjoyed that. And as always, if you want to watch my uncut reaction and analysis, all you need to do is go to my Patreon page. I've included the link in my description below. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon. Peace.